Good evening, everybody. So, yeah, new microphone. Now, bear with me, give me any feedback because I am adjusting the volume and the echo on this thing, so it may take a couple videos to get it exactly dialed in because I got all these fun controls to play with and a mute button. So that's pretty cool. You know, someone said it was too loud, so I turned it down a little bit. I had it on full blast for the test, but I have an important video that I want to do, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have a microphone that people could barely hear. So I waited a day to get this, but this is a very important narcissism video, and it's a bit controversial to speak of, particularly considering that I'm male and I'm going to talk about it, because I reject tribalism as a whole, and this is a topic in narcissism that usually gets excused due to tribalism. And that is, if the biggest target of narcissistic women are other women, particularly empathic women, and I'm going to get into that, and how a lot of times people don't call it out and they excuse it because, like tribalism, female, but a female abusing another female is still abuse. Hell, I've seen sexual assault be dismissed because it was female on female, and that is wrong, and it is something that people don't talk about enough. So that's why I'm going to explain what I mean in this video, because sad to say, I'm guessing some of you who are going to watch this have been through this and have been afraid to speak up or call this person out if it's narcissistic abuse, simply because of the reception that you'll get. So it's going to be a little longer because I want to go in depth here. So, narcissistic females hate other females, particularly happy females that are empathetic and just have like a natural charisma about them, like the type of girl that's just naturally likable and perhaps very attractive too, but not always. Like a lot of times, what I've observed when there's a narcissistic female and there's like a really happy-go-lucky, likable girl who's maybe only a 6, maybe a 7, she'll get a lot of attention and people will be interested in her romantically, but also she's just nice to talk to, and where the narcissist isn't. And this gets at the narcissist because, like with all narcissists, they expect to always be the center of attention. So anything that takes attention away from them, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. They're going to want to destroy it. They're going to want to beat it down because that's their attention because they say so. And it's even more amplified if this very nice, empathetic female is also very attractive. It's a big target because the narcissist, as I've mentioned before, thinks they're the best at everything. Narcissists not only have to have all the attention, but they want to be the prettiest in the room. And you see this with male narcissists too. They're the biggest, they're the toughest, they're the most good look. It's the same thing. And it's most predominant really with covert narcissists, because an overt narcissist will just, male or female, will just tell you about why they're better than everybody. A covert, they really get burned when they see people flocking towards somebody else, somebody they see as competition. And perhaps the biggest, most common example of what I'm talking about is narcissistic women who are older and abusing younger women that they should be mentoring. And this is more of a problem woman on woman than male on male, because narcissistic men actually tend to try to mentor younger men. I know they still want to, they'll still talk about how much better they were at the young man's age, but at the same time, they see this person they deem as a threat, not so much as a threat, but as a successor. Like, I am the greatest that there's ever been, and once I am gone, it will be you. I am honoring you as my heir, so to say. You don't see that with narcissistic women. They are extremely jealous of younger women. especially, those that are getting attention, because again, that attention belongs to them in their eyes. And this is most pronounced with relationships, and I'll give a personal example. If you're at a workplace and there's a guy that like all the girls, have a crush on, and perhaps that guy is, demisexual, so he's quite selective, and he's been everybody's shoulder to cry on, but as far as romantic things go, he knows what he wants, and he knows what he's looking for, and if he finds it, he finds it. If he doesn't, he's not going to hook up with somebody just because he can, or because what he's looking for isn't around, because that's not in his nature, but, very respectful, protective when the situation calls for it kind of thing. But say, there's a covert narc there who thinks she's the best there's ever been at anything and thinks she owns everybody, refers to these other employees in the possessive verb tense. And perhaps this covert narcissist is, average in the looks department, perhaps slightly above, 5'6" in there, the general consensus among the male employees, let's just say. But the new girl is a 9. Now, we keep anonymity on this channel, but let's say the new girl, and I'm going to give you a description that was generalized. The new girl, looks-wise, the consensus is a 20-year-old Margot Robbie, and the narcissist is a 24-year-old Megan McCain. That should paint a picture. Then all of a sudden, the guy that everybody chased and the new girl get together, and it's obvious they're arm in arm, they're all smiles, they're both so happy. Everybody at the workplace, customers and employees, are talking about it. They're in the spotlight. They're the it couple. They're everybody's happy. Everybody thinks it makes sense. It's so cute. It's you can clearly see there's some major chemistry going on there. The narcissist will destroy that, and in this case, not because she wants the guy, but because that attention is being taken away from her. There's two other people taking up attention that's hers, and they have happiness. They have something she doesn't have. And with any type of narcissist, nobody can have something they don't have. Give me that, it's mine. If they don't have something, be it happiness, success, respect, whatever, then no one can have it. No one can have anything that they don't have. This is the same type of narcissist that if another employee has a good night in tips, how do you have it? Me. We all know the type. So they'll seek out to destroy that, because misery loves company, and if they can't be happy, nobody can. So that's an example of how that would work in a situation like that. But there's other examples too, particularly in the more professional side, where a, say, not so good female supervisor in any given company who isn't very good at her job and isn't very sociable, doesn't really have, people skills, always looks annoyed, always, why have to do anything? Yeah, it's like, well, yes, especially when you're the boss. When you're in a position that's defined as leadership, one is expected to lead, and lead by example, whereas a lot of leaders, male and female, that are narcissistic, think they just point, yeah, so let it be done. But no. So in this situation, there could be a younger female that's very likable, charismatic, perhaps a very good people person, just someone who's genuinely pleasant to interact with, be it casually, deep conversation, flirtatious, what have you, just in all aspects. The narcissist can't have that, because again, that's a threat. The narcissist deep down, especially the covert narcissist, because they're vulnerable, they know their inadequacies, and anybody that is better at them in any measurable skill, and looks, anything, like intelligence, looks, conversation, charisma, anything, they're going to try to keep down, because they see that as a threat. So the only way they can maintain their superiority, particularly woman on woman, is to keep all others down. The covert narcissistic woman has to be the prettiest in the room, and when there's somebody, a female, that comes in that is prettier, they're going to have a major problem with that, and they're going to try to slander that person's reputation and whatever they can do to make people who are, looking like, who were smiling at her, like, ooh, want to back off. But whatever they have to do, because if they can't compete, because narcissists hate competing on a level playing field. They don't want to compete on a level playing field because they can't. So they got to rig the game in their favor as much as they can. But only they're allowed to do that, nobody else. Like, a narcissist, can say or do anything they want to somebody for them, to benefit them. But if the person they're attacking or someone else, a third party, then exposes the narcissist for what they're doing, then that person's in the wrong, because you're not allowed to tell the truth about a narcissist. Remember, the rules don't apply to them. They're allowed to do whatever they want, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's another common thing of, another big point, and I'll try to wrap it up after this. This is getting long, but narcissistic women, particularly older narcissistic women, will try to exploit younger women that they deem as a threat. I've seen it, now in this case, not recently, but the older narcissistic woman will essentially throw the younger, agreeable, perhaps one that can't set boundaries or say no female to the wolves, be it older men, and put her in positions where she will be exploited, where she feels she can't say no. And the narcissistic woman will offer her up to impress and get the adulation and admiration of these older men, so that, they still have a favorable view of her, like, oh, this is, they'll talk her up and all that. It's like, she's going to keep bringing us new victims. I mean, how wrong is that? Because the narcissist is all about praise. Any type of praise in any way they want. And they'll get it no matter how they can, what they have to do. If that means exploiting other people, if that means putting other women in positions to be sexually abused, they'll do it, because it's all about their praise, and it's all about people praising them and wanting to be around them and making them feel important. And this goes on, and it's rarely talked about. Ghislaine Maxwell, perfect example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, if you want a famous example, that's one. So, be aware of this. This is something, we talk a lot about narcissistic men preying on women, and that is very predominant. And while talked about more than this, it's not talked about enough. It's getting there. And, we do talk about particularly borderline women abusing men, because within the cluster B personality disorders, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, tends to be more common in males and females, and the reverse is true for borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder, which that's debatable if it's its own disorder or if it's like a offshoot of borderline, because there's a lot of overlap there. But again, leave that to the professionals. But it's something that does need to be discussed more, is the female victims of female narcissists and borderlines, because sadly, a lot of women are making excuses for these abhorrent abusers simply because they're women. And the idea that, a woman can abuse another woman, oh, they certainly can. And it should not be ignored. And in my opinion, as a feminist, as a male Lilithan witch, abuse is abuse. A narcissist is a narcissist. Gender is not in this equation. Narcissists, borderlines, they're all monsters, and they should all be treated equally, because they should be treated as monsters because they're monsters based on the actions that they do to other people of their own free will. Sadly, we do live in a world where gender plays a large role in a lot of scenarios. This is not one of them. If a woman is being abused, it doesn't matter if that abuser, we're sticking with narcissistic abuse, or bullied or hazed, it doesn't matter if that abuser is male or female. It certainly doesn't matter to the victim, at least not the ones I've discussed too. So keep that in mind. If you see a situation like this, be the one with the integrity to speak up. And if your intuition's telling you that a situation like this is going on, and you're somebody that the victim trusts, or at least, they know you're intuitive and can put puzzles together, perhaps you need to pull that person aside one-on-one and talk to them about what's going on. It may not, go well, because I got to make one more point. In a lot of cases, a female narcissist has a lot of enablers, and the sad thing is those enablers protect that narcissist because they are a woman. Because you can't make another woman look bad. Even, the hell with the woman who's being abused. You just suck it up, girl. It's not that bad. Just get through it. Like, you can't say that about her. Like, that's our queen bee. No. And then if anybody does try to call it out, particularly if you're male, they'll vilify you and retcon every noble thing you did for, the past 2 years. Yeah, they'll Daenerys Targaryen your ass. Yeah, you watch my video on that. It explains how INFJs get slandered for doing the very things people push them to do to cause change. But regardless, it's something that does need to be talked about, and other women should not protect another woman who's an abuser. Her gender doesn't give her a pass. Narcissistic abuse is narcissistic abuse.